Shuli? Where's my Shuli? 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 Shuli?
That's the stuff.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Here. You bet your ass.
I was so lost without you.
Got myself a lime polar. We're in a rough spot right now, man. We're in a rough spot.
You and me?
The most...
The
me
world?
and Celeste.
Your marriage?
The easiest way to get polar right now is to go to Costco and get a big flat crate of them. I actually bought a couple of bootleg DVDs last weekend that are like such poor rips of the original films that it's like watching it through a camcorder. It's pretty fucking bad.
Oh, sweet. What'd you get?
Somebody's making them, right? And rather than letting it go, rather than letting a fucking CD be floating around in the ocean when a little fucking bird sticks its head down in the hole in the middle and then is stuck with a CD around its neck for the rest of its short and tortured life, rather than let that happen, I'm fucking saving the world by keeping all of this shit in here with me.
See, and I'm saving the world by buying metal shirts, because if you don't buy metal shirts, they end up in the ocean as well, and then you see all these fucking dolphins and turtles wearing,
dolphins
fucking
wearing
metal shirts. Yeah, and they're and it's too tight for them.
I got Dead of Night.
You only bought it because it's got that cover that Deceased used for one of their
look a little bit like the face on Luck of the Corpse. Is that what you mean?
No, they've used that exact photo for one of their releases. But that is a still from this very infamous segment. It's called Bobby, and Deceased wrote a song about it.
Yeah, this has Bobby. This has Second Chance, No Such Thing as a Vampire, and Bobby.
But watch that Bobby segment. The problem is they've spoiled it right there on the cover. But
that's Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby is pretty creepy if you're not expecting it and you're watching that on TV and you're like, 8 years old and you're watching it at your grandma's house. That Bobby segment will scare the shit out of you like it did to me.
Upstairs in the dark. In the dark? And he insists on playing some game. On playing some game? Why are you repeating everything I say? Repeat everything you say?
Deceased has a lot of shit that's based specifically on old, TV movies and old, just all the stuff that scared King Fowley, basically. He'll write a song about it, which is great. So, but you did not buy it because of that. Were you aware? No. You don't recognize that as a Deceased cover then?
No.
Yeah, look that up. That's like a piece of vinyl or something that has that exact shot on it with just the Deceased logo over it. Old horror crap on DVD. I've been going this other route and doing a little bit of research, actually, for all the folks out there, because I've realized now that we have entered a golden age of these free streaming channels where they're all ad supported. Unless you have an ad blocker and you use Firefox. Wink, wink. Then there are no ads. So I've been going through all the free services and looking at their horror sections and comparing them. And I have some findings.
Okay, share with us your research. Share with us the fruits of your research.
I say subscribe to Shudder just to support it, but outside of those, everybody knows Tubi. Tubi's got a pretty solid selection, right?
Yeah.
Well, Mistress Tubi, which is great, is probably my number one favorite of the free services in terms of just how convenient it is and shit. And
Mistress Tubi?
I call her Mistress. Tubi, excellent horror section. Pretty goddamn good, very varied, lots of kind of newer stuff, really great selection. Most people don't even know this. Shout Factory, who's very well known for DVDs and stuff, they have a really robust collection of free shit on their website, Shout Factory TV, including live streaming channels and just all pretty much, 90% of their catalog is on there for free, including their horror section is probably, I would say, number 2 in terms, because it's full of cult shit. All the Shout Factory stuff is pretty awesome. Now, have you, Pluto TV? Have you checked that one out? That one's more known for being kind of a live streaming thing.
I've seen the little icon more times than I can count, but I don't even know what it is.
Pluto TV is pretty awesome because it's the closest thing to just like a real cable channel on your computer, and you can go there and watch stuff streaming, but it's not like they have a really great streaming horror channel, but they have on-demand shit. Their shit was pretty good, but motherfucking Plex. Nobody knows about Plex or talks about Plex.
I don't know about Plex.
See? Yeah, Plex is the #1 for horror. Plex has I'm going to go there right now. Plex has a humongous horror section that I had to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll just to get to the bottom of. Let me see here. Let me see what we got here. Right at the top, Halloween, Train to Busan, Hostel, I Saw the Devil, Oculus, Wrong Turn, American Werewolf, just on and on and on.
Solid. Very solid.
Phantasm, The Void, Last House on the Left, Henry, The Hills Have Eyes, The Changeling, Nosferatu, the Klaus Kinski version, beware. Monos, Blood
Henry, Henry the serial killer movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Argento stuff they got. I'm scrolling down. They got Barker's new cut of Nightbreed. They got Demons. They got Italian Horror. They got Chud. This
is all on Plex streaming right now?
All on Plex. Yes, for free.
Damn, Plex.
And, most of them. Oh, see, Fulci stuff. Cat in the Brain. I'm watching Fulci's Cat in the Brain right now, which is like, this was a film that for years and years and years was spoken about in hushed tones as something you'd have to get as a Laserdisc bootleg, as I've discussed before. Nightmare Concert, aka Cat in the Brain, Fulci's craziest movie, streaming for free on Plex.
You will do everything I tell you to do. You will slowly be possessed by madness. Doesn't look real to me yet. Get him out of my sight. I'll create an evil being who everyone will think is you. A mad, bloodthirsty monster.
I think Plex is #1. Still going. Evil Dead Trap. They got Darling. See, they got newer stuff. They got kaiju stuff I'm seeing.
Did you tell Nev? Did you tell Nev? Nev probably wants to know.
Oh, Nev has everything.
Nev already has everything. He's got it on physical copies of it, yeah.
Yeah. He has physical copies of the monsters themselves, then physical copies of the movies that the monsters are in.
Backyard Godzilla.
He plays Backyard Godzilla all the time.
Backyard Godzilla, motherfucker. That's what I'd do. If I loved Godzilla that much and I were him, I would have a Godzilla costume. I wonder if he does.
I'm sure he does, just for sexual play,
Hey,
if for nothing else, Break out the costume, honey. I'll dress up as Godzilla. You dress up as a Yongari.
Honey, I don't want to play Godzilla tonight.
You don't want to be Yongari this week?
Too bad.
Okay, fine. You can be Batra. But I'm always Godzilla. You understand? That's the rules of the bedroom.
Yeah. You're diving deeper into kaiju lore than I can go with you, man. I know. I'm like a kaiju poser, man. I
gotta scream out the deep cuts.
I know the very top shelf stuff.
The gift of Brazilian TV, having grown up there, they played a lot of deep, weird cuts that you wouldn't play in America. Like they played Fulci movies and stuff.
Coffin Joe movies.
Well, those wouldn't be available on TV at that time. They were actually so scared of. For folks that don't know who Coffin Joe is, I'm sure a lot of you know who Coffin Joe is. He's the Brazilian horror icon, but there's kind of a smearing of the fourth wall where he is considered a real life terrifying guy where people are scared of him on the streets and stuff. The superstition around him is so strong. Like I was even hushed for mentioning him or asking about his movies when I was a kid. They were like, no, don't talk about him. Like, yeah, so it's like a whole other level, like way beyond like Vincent Price or something. It'd be like if you were afraid that Vincent Price was actually drinking people's blood and you didn't know, like if Vincent Price was like Marilyn Manson or something. It's kind of like what Coffin Joe is like. But Coffin Joe is a translation of his name, which is Zé do Caixão, which the literal translation is Zé of the coffin. Zé being kind of the closest thing to a Joe, I guess. But he has really long, creepy fingernails, and legendary horror guy who was making gore and satanic horror movies in the 1960s in Brazil when this shit was outlawed, and he was doing them grassroots with his own friends and family, putting shit in the movies that could get him arrested. And he would just screen these movies, like he would just travel around the country with almost like a little carnival, and he would screen his movies, and that's how they became known and famous. And people were like, he would appear at the movie as himself, with the nails and stuff, and people were scared of him. He would scratch people, put curses on them. Yeah, he's fucking amazing. So anyway, yeah, Zé do Caixao,
baby Coffin Joe.
Super proud of Brazilian horror heritage. Zé do Caixao is a bad motherfucker. True horror pioneer. When most people acknowledge Blood Feast as supposedly the first gore movie, but Zé do Caixao's, I think it's A Meia-Noite Levarei a Sua Alma. That predates Blood Feast by at least 1 or 2 years, and had lots of gore in it and stuff, including eyeball gore and finger and hand removals and a scene where he goes to hell. Yeah, amazing shit.
Good stuff.
Who the fuck is screaming? Is that you? Oh, wait, no, I got the Horror Channel playing. I'm hearing
You're getting
a woman
fucking,
screaming.
You're forgetting about you. You forget yourself, sir. You're so immersed in your surroundings that you're like, where is it coming?
Or at least that's what I'm convincing you.
The screaming is coming from inside the house, my G.
As far as you know, I'm watching a horror movie. Pay no attention to that cellar door that is bolted.
The burlap sack flopping around in the background before you puke into a bowl and feed it to it.
Not here. I poop into a bowl. Here we take it up a notch.
I got you. That's pretty brutal. Yes. Very brutal.
All right. Yes, I feel I've gone way into the horror talk here. So we have not even gotten to our topic at hand. Yes. Did we gather here for any particular reason today, Schiller?
What is that you've got there? Is that a bolt?
There's a bolt.
What are you going to do with it? Oh, he threw it. He did the thing. He threw the bolt.
That's right. Shots fired.
It's bolt thrower time.
Yeah, we can get into all that and more on today's Megatrends and Brutality. Stay with us. Stay with us. Stay with us. Because today we're talking bolt thrower.
And some other stuff too.
Does Joe Bench have an OnlyFans? I
wonder.
That's what I want to know. Because I want to sign up for it. Do you think veterans just sit around listening to Bolt Thrower, or are they like, I've had enough of this? Thank you.
I don't know. I got a couple that I can ask. I have a good friend of mine was in the military for a while and has got some interesting stories. I'll try and get in touch with him and see. But the thing is, like, he doesn't like heavy music that much.
Most veterans I know like stuff like Five Finger Death Punch and shit, and well, do you know about the World Eater? Like, no, we didn't use the World Eater over there. So yeah, I think
we didn't fucking use Bolt Thrower for enhanced interrogation in Gitmo.
You didn't use a Bolt Thrower on the battlefield over there when you were in. So
here's the thing about Bolt Thrower. I've always gravitated more towards the real life war history stuff in Bolt Thrower, just because I liked that it was generalized and not necessarily hooked to one ideology or like one war or one.
Yeah, it was just warfare.
Instead of like a band, an entire band that's dedicated to World War I or something. I'm like,
yeah, that gets old.
A lot of World War I,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, or the Marduk syndrome.
Yeah.
All right, we get it.
Exactly. But one of the things about Bolt Thrower's mythology that is completely overlooked for me is the Warhammer 40K stuff. I know nothing about any of that shit. doing a little bit of reading and finding out that apparently it's like massive in the UK, way more popular there than it is here and has been for quite some time. That makes sense, being the bolt throwers from the UK. Interesting thing about that property right now in its developmental stages, like apparently Henry Cavill was one of the people who bought up the rights to make a movie or something or a TV show, and that they're going to work on that now. So
yes. A Warhammer, especially, well, Warhammer itself was the original, and then Warhammer 40K was the sci-fi aspect of it.
Okay, so they're two different things.
It was like dwarves and you know, humans versus you know, trolls.
So they weren't in space.
And, you know, a strategic, and the original, the bolt thrower is a piece of dwarven artillery, which
it's a crossbow, isn't it? No.
Well, it's like a crossbow the size of a car. That,
nice.
You know,
somebody should name a band after that.
Yeah. But but that's the old stuff. That the Warhammer 40K is the stuff that I find really compelling. And Bolt Thrower only really dipped into that very briefly. They were much more about the old school Warhammer.
Like, I'm not much of a gamer, but the peripheral shit and sort of the mythology shit interests me. It's
all very metal adjacent, and I'm always surprised when I find people who are gamers and tabletop people when they're not interested in death metal at all. It's like, really? Really? You just sit around doing all this crazy shit with these
what do you
chaos units
then?
And demons and monsters? And what are you listening to? Acoustic Alchemy, your favorite.
Oh my god, Acoustic Alchemy and Warhammer 40K, like playing in the background. It's so antithetical, man. It put everybody to sleep. You couldn't play a fucking game doing that shit.
As I showed on last episode, I have the original edition of Realm of Chaos, and see, I think it's the booklet is very role-playing gamey and full of cool shit. So I think that they should just re-release Bolt Thrower stuff with a full Warhammer campaign inside the booklet and shit. That's what they should do. But yeah, sadly, that shit's all owned by Earache. So that's not going to happen.
Dig,
boy Digby at the helm.
We see you out there, Dig. We know what you're doing.
Yeah, guess what, Digby? I got the original, the one you don't want me to have with the Games Workshop artwork, buddy. Yeah, I'm not buying that new version with the crappy new artwork, and I'm not buying that new Altars of Madness either, though, the new cover version. The Bolt Thrower story is a huge part of my just my entry into death metal at all. You know, Bolt Thrower, I think I should mention, are actually kind of one of the earliest death metal bands, and for sure one of the first bands. They were actually considered grindcore for a long time. And if you listen to In Battle There Is No Law, you can hear a lot more of that. Which at the time grindcore was kind of defined a little bit differently. It was kind of more of an evolution of punk, you know, where it was just like really, really crazy extreme punk is maybe how they saw it. But here's something that...
Yeah, like old Napalm Death.
Right, exactly. It was Napalm Death, early
in the same area.
And well, this is the thing. All those bands were gathered together on that legendary Grind Crusher compilation, which I've talked about with you and Trevor before, which was my number one getting me into death metal guide. You know, once I discovered the Grind Crusher compilation, it had all those bands on it. And it had Bolt Thrower's World Eater on it, which is one of the, in my opinion, one of the most important death metal songs. This is what I like about death metal. This is because other stuff was way too extreme for me. Like they had Carcasses Exhumed to Consume on there.
And you're just like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can handle this. Dude, Bolt Thrower is a great entry level death metal band, man. There are few that are that good because so much about what they're doing is it's heavy as fuck, but it's still like generally broadly palatable for a lot of people who would otherwise not.
And it wasn't about gore or Satan, so it was like, wow, this really opens up some doors for me.
Exactly.
You know? And
no misogyny, no fucking none of a lot of the shit that a lot of the elements that sort of work their way into extreme music.
It has a couple of things that completely were set in stone for me in terms of death metal. It's set so much in what I like about death metal. It's set to me that I want those kind of vocals. I want a huge guitar sound, and I want, you know, like groove and epic riffery along with the extremity. But there's about 4 different kinds of Bolt Thrower songs that we can address. You know what I'm talking about. There's the Bolt Thrower song that fades in. That's something that they pioneered. Yes.
Yeah, and they've got it's a motif that they do on, I think there's like 4 different albums that have songs that all fade in. And
almost
fade out
every
like
album has one of those. And after a while, they started, I think by the last album, they started to say that was because it was thematically some kind of a continuation of a story. I think the last time they did the fade in song on those ones, Loyal, I think, was it?
Kill Chain.
That's right. It was Kill Chain. That's right. Yes.
Yep.
And just that's a thing that I've ripped off, and many bands have ripped off. Bolt Thrower invented that. I think Bolt Thrower invented sang the song title at the beginning. World Eater. I've done that. I've ripped that.
He just wants to make sure that you know what you're listening to.
Yes.
I do you a favor.
And then also having the extended instrumental intro in the song itself, not as a separate thing. So all these things I've ripped off from a Bolt Thrower, and I feel Bolt Thrower has set these things in stone. But I gotta stop and talk about Joe Bench for a second.
Tell the kids about Joe Bench, man, in case they don't know about Joe Bench.
Let me speak the legend. One of the first and earliest women to be in this scene and playing this music, along with the previously mentioned ladies in Mythic, which were in America. But anyway, Joe joined the band. I think she joined the band right after their first demo and was with them the entire time. Just a legendary, awesome bass player, legendary, awesome presence in the scene, and just exudes fucking metal.
Yeah.
She just go to her Metallum page, Bolt Thrower.
Yeah.
The end.
Yep, that's it. That's all. That's all she wrote,
awesome.
man.
Just that was what she did. She was Bolt Thrower. So whatever they're doing now, other members, you're talking about Memoriam. They got stuff going on.
We had Carl, but for the release of the next to most recent Memoriam album, To the End, we had him on Lifts and Riffs.
Oh yeah.
And just like super delightful motherfucker, man. If you're gonna start anywhere with Memoriam, start with the third record, Requiem for Mankind. I feel like it just really. They're not trying to be Bolt Thrower, and I'm not saying that they were to begin with, but I feel like they sort of really shook that loose and started to get their own dynamic on this record, and the songs are just better. They're catchier, they're heavier, they're faster. It's just a really good record. And the first three were a trilogy.
Bolt Thrower being a kind of a hybrid of crust punk and grindcore, and then eventually becoming what they became, evolving in their own style. Their early stuff, they started out very much crust punk adjacent. In Battle There Is No Law created an entire genre called Stenchcore. Are you aware of Stenchcore?
Baby. I am aware of Stenchcore. I couldn't name a Stenchcore band if you asked me to, but I've certainly.
Well, I have a shitload of Stenchcore vinyl.
I got a stack of Stenchcore vinyl, baby. All right, man, get into it. Enlighten me.
Well, the thing is, specifically in Battle There Is No Law, which has a very specific, very primitive and raw sound, and that's them at their most...
Very different, yeah.
Well, in the underground and in the crust punk scenes, crust punks loved, in Battle There Is No Law, they loved Celtic Frost, and they loved Slayer. And so crust punks started bands that were kind of more metallic bands influenced by those three bands in a blender, and that became its own genre, which was called Stenchcore. Bands that kind of on a whole sound like Bolt Throws in Battle There Is No Law mixed with early Celtic Frost is how I would describe them. But Hellshock is one. Let's see here. We got Sanctum. Sanctum broke up, but they were one of the best ones. They were a really fucking awesome Bolt Thrower inspired band. Axe Grinder. This is a classic band.
It's like a whole bunch of shit that I'm going to check out, dude. Maybe I like Stenchcore.
Stenchcore is awesome because it combines element, like I said, Celtic Frost, Bolt Thrower, Slayer, and then oddly, Gothic rock. There's a lot of Gothic rock influence in Stenchcore. Not in that way, no. More in kind of just clean tone guitars and stuff, but that come out of nowhere. Yeah, Stormcrow's an awesome one. Warmaster, who to thunk it, huh?
Who could?
I wonder who they're influenced by. Yeah, Warmaster is definitely a Bolt Thrower core, and then Sword Wielder is another good one. They're a modern band, but my favorite of all the Stenchcore bands, and one of the stenchiest and one of the crustiest, is Instinct of Survival. These guys fucking rule. They're from the UK. They are awesome, and their shit has the spirit of like classic crust, classic Stenchcore. But all of that entire scene is kind of an offshoot of early Bolt Thrower. And then immediately Bolt Thrower, when they get signed, they kind of immediately change sound a little bit when they put out Realm of Chaos. It's a lot.
Oh, there's a big difference.
Yeah. So a lot of people stop their Bolt Thrower love right there. Like the first album, I'm out. And, which is interesting.
That's where mine begins. I love Bolt Thrower way more than I love like their onwards way more than I like In Battle There Is No Law. It's not that I don't like the record. It's just that it is my least.
It's a whole different. It's like its own
because it's a different animal. Yeah. And like I came into Bolt Thrower later, you know what I mean? At this point, I think I've said that Mercenary was the first Bolt Thrower record that I
that's
remember
a weird
hearing,
one
but
to come
I honestly
in on.
am not sure. Yeah, it was later, man. It was super groovy. Bolt Thrower was my introduction to Bolt Thrower, and my favorite one is Those Once Loyal. You know, I'm in the same boat as them. That's the best that they could possibly get.
You know, everybody talks about Realm of Chaos. Everyone talks about Battle There Is No Law. I find that War Master is kind of not talked about as much, and I think I understand why. I kind of find it maybe their most boring, or maybe their second most boring. We'll get there. But what do you think of War Master?
The second most boring. It's got one of my favorite old Bolt Thrower tracks on it, fucking What Dwells Within, dude. Like, if you don't like What Dwells Within, you don't like Bolt Thrower. Yeah, dude, it's the shit. It's one of my favorite Bolt Thrower songs, and it's like that to me is like really moving forward towards where their sound was going to go. You know,
yes,
like those riffs are just so like digestible, but they're heavy and catchy and like endlessly influential. You cannot throw a rock without hitting shit that sounds like this.
That's the question, I guess, why a lot of people dropped off. Well, not a lot of people jumped on during this era. This is kind of when they started becoming famous, at least in America. But is when you take crusty death metal, stenchcore death metal, and you make it no longer black and white, and then you have color art, and you have Colin Richardson producing it. Does it still retain the properties of crust? And they kind of started not being considered grindcore anymore, because then grindcore became Carcass and Napalm Death specifically, which by the way, all three of these bands at the time, which were crushing it and creating this whole new scene, and actually each one of these bands becoming their own scenes eventually, Carcass, Napalm Death, and Bolt Thrower, all three of them produced by Colin Richardson at the time. So Colin Richardson completely defining what the guitar sound is of modern death metal with these early albums.
I think you gotta throw Scotty Burns some credit as well, but I think that definitely Colin Richardson is a massive.
Colin Richardson, in my opinion, was the first producer that made death metal sound huge, especially when we get to this motherfucker right here, which I think was the first modern death metal production, maybe.
I think that part of the reason for that is because Bolt Thrower's music was so catchy and accessible by that point. You know what I mean? Like the two, like Colin Richardson production, like, not shiny by today's standards, but definitely production that can handle the complexity and the loudness of death metal, and that really, like, you can see him focusing on the parts of their songs that are the most accessible. The riffs and the groove.
Well, they were the ones that they would lay back in the groove in ways that, Napalm wouldn't at the time necessarily, So I consider War Master kind of though it's very classic, it's one I skip over a lot. I definitely listen to Realm of Chaos a lot
listen
more.
To What Dwells Within, man. Like that track right there is that's one of my favorite Bolt Thrower tracks, dude. I'd never put together a Bolt Thrower compilation without that track on it.
Now, this one here, this baby here, which came right when death metal was starting to be considered passé by the mainstream. I bought the tape at the Monroe Mall. And, And
Epiconland Mall?
Yep, Epiconland Mall. And when those guitars kicked in, that wall, that changed my life. That was the first time I ever heard quad-tracked, huge death metal guitar. The production on that album is so fucking huge and so epic, and I'd never heard death metal guitars presented like that before, where it was like, this sounded like a big budget production to me. And so that is one of the things that made me go, how did he get that guitar sound? How do you do that? Oh, you pan the guitars. Oh, this way. And you record 4 of them, and you do it, and each one has a different setup. And and like just reading shit and sending me on a tizzy to learn about production and getting heavy guitar sounds. So, in terms of this album itself, I feel it has a couple of good songs and overall kind of boring riffery with incredibly huge guitar. But the song I worship on this one is what is it? Celestial Sanctuary? Is that the name of that song?
Yeah.
That is
also a good band in their own right.
Yes. Oh, and can we even get into how many fucking bands are named after bolt thrower song titles. Forget about it, bro. That's for
two relatively recent bands, World Eaters, and fucking band that you just said, Celestial Sanctuary. Those two are probably the most recent.
Like half of the Stenchcore bands are just named after bolt throwers.
Yeah.
That outro they do on that album where it's just him talking about the many wars, and he's just in Constantinople, and he's just going through listing all these wars and things and the years. I love that. It's so
trying to make sure
nerdy,
man.
So nerdy. I love it.
Give you the I know, right? I know. I do appreciate like the attention to detail. I really do think that they were trying to paint their own little canvas.
Yes.
With elements from stuff that was definitely a popular part of heavy music. War and heavy music go together relatively well. But like you said, I think that there's like bigness and hooks and like stuff that you don't necessarily see in other places. And I think that their willingness to like lean into more traditional song structures, to lean into catchier guitar riffs, definitely steered death metal, I think, in a direction that helped keep like songwriting sensibility as part of the equation. Like you go back and you look at early death metal and sort of the push for extremity and sort of the rejection of commercialism and the rejection of standard song structures, just like this push to try and go someplace that music hasn't gone before, or try and go someplace that like eclipses music in itself and becomes something else, right? And bolt throwers like, oh well, yeah, but what if you could bob your head to it?
Yeah, what if we can just bob your head? What if we
just
have fun with this?
Yeah. I know, and it does. It does seem fun. Like it's fun. It's serious, but it's also fun death metal.
Well, Morbid Angel, all the Morbid Angel people I knew and stuff, they were all like cutting themselves and like
bolt throwers. Like
it's like, can we have some beers?
Let's play Magic the Gathering.
Bang our head, like
it's not my favorite bolt thrower record. I like Celestial Sanctuary. I like the plotting sort of churning guitar riffs in there.
Exactly.
And I like that's definitely part of what bolt throwers legacy has become. But like, or what I hear, what I focus on when I listen to Fourth Crusade is not so much the things that it does by itself, but like the way that it is part of this, what I consider to be kind of a trilogy. So there's like a whole bunch of different parts that echo other parts. There's a whole bunch of different similarities between it and other records, or the two records that came before it. So it doesn't stand out as like the definitive bolt thrower record for me, but I certainly like it. Once again, it takes a backseat to the last one.
It's kind of the first modern bolt thrower record, because from that point they kind of sounded like that, forward. But yes, that one was followed up by what is now considered widely considered their best, and that is For Victory, which let's see, we have different editions.
We have different versions.
Yeah, what's happening
I have the one with the bonus CD. It's got the War CD live.
Oh, okay. Oh wait, no, so do I.
Sticker there.
I've got that too.
Oh, I will.
So what the fuck is this?
I don't know why
I got the worst.
The cover's different.
Oh yeah. The production on this album is still one of my favorite death metal productions ever. And it sounds fucking massive. The fucking guitars on this are still like a high watermark for me, that I'm constantly trying to get guitars that sound as nice as this. And this is something that I study in terms of that. But I also feel songwriting wise, in my opinion, this is their strongest one. Period.
Yeah, man. It's every song on here is a fucking earworm, man. Like they're really leaning into the things that they do best, and I think it's definitely the most memorable bolt thrower record. For the people who say that bolt throwers like too samey, or people who might get bored with bolt thrower, which, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't understand where you're coming from to an extent. Like you said, bolt thrower is limited in where they go on the spectrum of heavy music. But if you want like the standout record that really does give you no reason to work at all to like it.
Right.
Like it comes directly to where you are, and it's going to make you bang your fucking head. Like every single track on here is a fucking super catchy track, and it's got some of my favorite bolt thrower. I think Armageddon Bound is probably my favorite bolt thrower closer. That 1-2 opener, fucking
that's what I was
War
gonna say.
Remembrance.
Yeah, the 1-2 opener,
when Glory beckons,
knocks you on your ass.
Lest We Forget, like all of these are absolute classics.
Yes,
you know what I mean. If you're like, I don't care for bolt thrower because of the internet memes and how popular they are on Twitter. Well, if you feel that way about bolt thrower, right, set it aside for a second and just check out one record. Check out For Victory.
Yes,
listen to it all the way through, and then come and find me and thank me for the favor that I've done for you.
Which sadly was the first one to have pretty weak cover art. Like if this had godly painted amazing cover art, it would have been immediately recognized as the great album that it is. But yes, now people understand that is a modern masterpiece of death metal. But that was kind of the end of the classic original Bolt Thrower era, I would dare say, because that was the end of the Earache era, the Earache era, the classic lineup era, and also the Colin Richardson era. That was the final thing Colin Richardson would ever mix for them, sadly, besides one more song that he did, which that would be World Eater 94.
94, yes. From the 2 EPs, I've got the little collection, Who Dares Wins. Yeah, that's the version that I prefer.
Well, that's because that is one of the best death metal songs, period. That is just, put that on. That the way they modernized it, it's tighter. You can hear, the original is kind of sloppy, kind of underground, but to hear them come back with Colin, the same lineup that, the exact same people who did the original World Eater, and give it that, man, I wish they had given that entire album that treatment, because that is one of the most epic death metal songs. The re-recording, I feel like I want to listen to it right now. Like it makes me want to run through a wall. It gets me so excited.
It is. It's heavy as fuck.
I love it.
Like you said, it's just tighter. It sounds better.
Yes.
That is another example that I point to when people are like, I don't like songs to be re-recorded or whatever.
World Eater was one of the songs that got me into death metal and got me into playing death metal. So for so many years, I was like, well, I want to cover that song. I learned the riffs and everything. And then they put out that 94 version. And I said, well, I can't do it now because
what can I do
now? I can
now?
Never top that. So I'll just listen to that. So that is my number one most listened to Bolt Thrower song ever is a World Eater 94. Like, because I can usually just put that on and I go, yep, that's everything I love about Bolt Thrower, and then move on to something else. It's like everything I love Bolt Thrower concentrated into one song. So sadly, I miss that Colin didn't do their next album, because I think Mercenary is a very good album, but I feel it's lacking in the production. When you go from For Victory to Mercenary, I feel there's a real step down production wise, and I feel that's a great album.
I think there's a step down. I think there's a step down across the board.
Really, like songwriting wise too.
It's a good record, but come on, man, how do you follow For Victory? Yeah, like it's very, very difficult to do, and it was clearly very difficult to do. There's some great shit on Mercenary. Fucking Powder Burns. I think Powder Burns is another one of the fade-in songs. Oh, but Powder Burns is the shit. Laid to Waste is the shit. Zeroed was solid.
No Guts, No Glories. That riff will stay in your head for days.
That's the thing. Like it's good. It's just that it followed fucking. Yeah. How do you feel Mercenary compares to the next one?
Well, I actually prefer Mercenary just because of how, just at the time, this was at the height of black metal being the cool thing. And when this came out, it was so, they're back. They're still going, the old guard. And so it was so refreshing to me at the time to hear something that wasn't fucking black metal. It had riffs. And I get so excited about the cover artwork on this one because it reminds me so hard of like art on like G.I. Joe packaging and action figures and stuff. It's so much like, we're on a mission, god damn it. Me and the Bolt Thrower gang, we're on a mission. Mercenary. Joe's gonna sneak behind enemy lines and slit that guard's throat, and then we're all gonna pile in. But anyway, so that one excites me on that level as a whole. Then the next album I feel was kind of that one's kind of controversial one because that's when they had the lineup changes.
Still Dave.
And
Dave Ingram.
Yes,
Dave Ingram from Benediction singing.
Ingram's got a good style for Bolt Thrower. No.
I mean, he's another fucking Birmingham. Right. Listen to Bolt Thrower and listen to Benediction, and you'll be like, oh, of course. But like the songs, I thought were people. It's really easy to sort of bag on Dave Ingram because he is like the most noticeable replaced part on this record. But I just feel like the songs on Honor, Valor, Pride are
I agree.
boring.
Yeah, like it's just kind of
they're not as. There's not as many peaks and valleys, you know what I mean? But there's still songs on here that are good, and this is the bonus German
you got a
version.
Fucking sweet digipack too.
Dude, this is nice. The digipack. It's got that extra track on there.
I've never seen that version.
And it's solid too. And like,
we still haven't even gotten to.
We haven't gotten to
Those Once Loyal. Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Where do you keep getting these Bolt Thrower digipacks from? Bolt Thrower themselves, when that album came out, they said, we can't do any better than this.
And I agree.
Let's just let's just stop. Which no bands do that.
I think they got as far into the sound that they were trying to create as they could. And there was stuff that was written post Those Once Loyal, as I believe, that they just weren't into.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, they said they were working on another album, and that the material they felt wasn't as good, so they just said, fuck it.
Like the opening 3 tracks on this record, I think are some of the best shit Bolt Thrower's ever done. Like it's endlessly catchy. The way that At First Light and Entrenched blend together is really fucking cool. It's a very theatrical record. I definitely recommend checking it out. If you're on the fence about Bolt Thrower, if you haven't heard Bolt Thrower before, and you want something that's a little bit more accessible by modern production standards, this is an excellent sounding record with excellent fucking riffs. It really is it's my favorite Bolt Thrower record, man. Like I recommend
of all of them.
check it out.
Well, it's just so happens to be Joe Bench's favorite Bolt Thrower record, because she herself said many times that was the first time I got the bass sound I always wanted. And that album has such a nice, prominent bass where you can hear her cutting through the mix. That's really the first time you get to really hear her up front. So, and that's the same producer who did Honor, Valor, Pride. He just really did a much better job on that album. That one sounds so much nicer.
I think everybody came to the table to play on Those Once Loyal. Songwriting on Those Once Loyal is so much more dynamic. There's so much more conviction in it. Fucking our boy is back, behind the microphone. Carl's back, so like it's a solid record. Check out Those Once Loyal.
Well, and then what's interesting is that they decide to call it quits.
Yeah,
and pretty much since then, Bolt Thrower has only
gotten bigger,
grown,
dude,
huge. Like now, you just speak their name, people bow. It's like you didn't even listen to it. Like really? Like they are just a legend.
And I remember.
Their legendary has increased.
I'm not gonna pretend that when I was a kid I was running around screaming, listen to Bolt Thrower to everybody because that's the point. I wasn't. Like I remember when Bolt Thrower was still a band and like their last record came out. I do remember that. I do remember when the last record came out because I was working at CD Warehouse in Little Rock. Nobody gave a fuck about Bolt Thrower. I mean,
especially when that last one came out, it was like, all right.
Yeah. Like I remember my friends at the time were just like, this shit's boring as fuck. It's another Bolt Thrower record, And there's always been respect for Bolt Thrower, but I don't think that the fucking reverence for Bolt Thrower that we see now, it's like so cartoonishly over the top, ever existed when they were a band.
It's a whole new generation of people that have picked up on the Bolt Thrower fandom. Yeah. So I have a theory that we are going to get some kind of a reuniting of them, even if it's just in a live capacity. At some point, we're going to see a bunch of old white-haired Bolt Throwers out there. This entire show, I got to be honest with you, I have no interest in Bolt Thrower. It's just a very thinly veiled ploy on my part to date Joe Bench. I'm just trying to get the word out there.
I do wonder what Joe Bench is up to. I'm not trying to date Joe Bench, but I am. Talk to Joe Bench about bass.
Joe is also she's been like the Carcass dude. She's been a vegetarian like since way back. So that's also where a lot of that crust punk ethos came. Crust punk came through so hard in Carcass, Napalm Death, and Bolt Thrower. The ethos of the crust punks, and the vegetarianism, the politics.
How do you feel about the sounds of the crust punks? Because a lot of that stuff is it's more melodic than a lot of death metal, but it does have some similarities with the death metal music, but specifically getting more into like the D-beat version of it. Like, can you handle that?
I don't like the D-beat. That's why I only like Stenchcore.
Okay.
Or crust.
You don't like when it gets to that point.
When crust sounds goes Stenchcore, I like it. So I mostly am into Stenchcore because it has the least amount of punk riffery in it.
Oh man, we got to talk about that.
What?
I love punk riffs and death metal.
It is my. I will turn off. It is my number one. Like, get that garbage out of here. Like the way you feel about saxophones. When I hear in the middle of a death metal song someone going da 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 da.
Oh no, dude!
Let me guess, you're gonna go da 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 da.
Oh, like other kinds of fucking death metal isn't predictable in the same way. And vomitory, like the riffs, dude. I love that shit. Both those songs both the singles from that record, and those are all that I've heard from All Heads Are Gonna Roll. I love that shit. Check out the new Vomitory. That's the thing, like old Vomitory did that shit back in the day, though, too. You can find a bunch of places where they're doing that shit on, like...
They did it
Blood Rapture.
The further back you go, the less they do it. They got more and more punky the further they went along.
And that, to me, like that, my first Vomitory record and my favorite Vomitory record is Blood Rapture. And there's a lot of, dude, it's really good, but they've got some of that punky sounding stuff on there. I feel like maybe it might have been early enough. Maybe you've gotten sick of it because you've heard it too much or whatever. But there's some good shit.
Once I got into brutal death metal, all other
it was over.
Death metal based on punk sounds like remedial to me. It's like something like, are you gonna start playing the notes, or am I gonna sit here and listen to you do high school riffs for the next? You know, it's like you're professionals. Okay, put some music into it. You know, make it hard to play.
Professionals.
Make it hard to play. You're playing nostalgia riffs from your childhood. Like, I'm buying a modern death metal album. I want the state of the art of the year we're in. You know, that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
I want what they're going to give me, and if I like it, I like it, and if I don't, I don't.
It's also a thing of, I could do better than that. Don't write something that I want to listen to shit better than what I could come up with.
But it really is. It's your personal preference, and there's nothing anybody can do about that.
Well, here's something interesting, though. I do love the Misfits, and I feel that actually, as a, you know, well, of course they were steeped in horror imagery, and
sure,
but I feel that Danzig brought something so interesting to that band by injecting that 1950s crooner element into the punk rock, and then they wrote riffs that were sounded more kind of like. You know, we're influenced by like doo-wop in 1950s and Elvis shit.
But we're getting older and our tastes change, right? And obviously our tastes have changed as we've gotten older. But like,
a lot of people I know, their tastes do not change, and they're still stuck in their fucking junior high tastes. But you and I work to evolve our tastes.
One of the things, and I think it has more of a priority for us. Like I think that's really what it comes down to.
Well, we are experts.
I don't know about that. I don't claim expertise in anything.
I'm claiming expertise.
You can.
I'm an expert, everybody.
I'm the guy. I am not afraid. Come and fucking get me, authorities.
You should hear how he talks about you guys in private. It's disgusting the way he talks about our audience. I'm always defending you guys, and Schiller just these idiots.
Listen,
scum.
Just because
that's good enough for them. Whatever's good enough for these pigs.
I'm just bitching about the fucking absolute idiocy of the absolute fucking bottom feeders who listen to this show. I don't know what their fucking problem is. I don't know why they want to spend their time with us. With us of all people, to think that there's something that we can bring to their lives. That's a pathetic individual. That's somebody that I don't want anything to do.
I will not hear this, Schiller. I will not hear this.
And
about our friends.
That's just where I'm coming from, man. That's just how I feel. Speaking of Bolt Thrower, we have what a lot of people consider to be the modern day Bolt Thrower, having just released their sophomore record, Frozen the Soul. Dropped a record called Glacial Domination.
Yes.
We got to talk about it.
I did not really like that new one. It did not that it was bad.
Sorry to hear that.
I did not think this new one was bad.
It's not the first one.
It's not as heavy. It's not as heavy as the first one. It's got a very clean
one.
production. Gee, I wonder if there's anyone who may have mixed their album that may have caused the production to be too clean. Schiller? Any news on that from the death metal world?
I know that the record was partially produced and partially co-written, at least one song, by Matt Heafy from Trivium.
You don't say.
Yeah, like I know that the dude is into a lot of extreme metal, and I know that he's a really he's a really cool guy.
He seems to be a nice guy.
I do feel like production-wise on the new Frozen Soul record, that to me is what is missing the most. It is very clean. I'm not going to say that it's like antiseptic, but it's not the punch of the low end is not there the way that it was on the first record. The first record sounded a little bit rawer, and then like there are places where they're getting more melodic that I like, and then there are places where they're getting more melodic that I don't necessarily care for. It's just not quite as punchy.
I feel this is a good album.
Yes, no, hold on.
Pales in comparison to the heaviness of the first one. If they had been released in opposite order, I'd have zero problem.
Yeah, I like the record. Like, I want to be very clear.
Yes.
I'm enjoying it. I think Death and Glory is one of the best songs that they've written. Like, I love the song. I think the title track is bad. Like, the self-titled track is fucking badass. I do think I'm not as big a fan of the album title track. That's the one that that's the one where the guitar melodies are getting a little too classic rock,
too much for
almost you. In places like it is.
Well, maybe if they played some punk rock riffs for
maybe
you,
that's
Schiller,
what I need.
Really, yay!
If you want to win me over, motherfucker, you just throw some punk in there.
You like punk riffs cause you is a punk.
That's right, boy.
Son. A couple of bands I ran into here as we were doing our Bolt Thrower research. I found on Bandcamp this band called
Floodgates Open.
Extermination Order, who have an album called The Siege of Ascalon. Have you heard this? Because you look at the cover art, and you could see immediately the Bolt Thrower, a 5-piece multinational death metal machine from California, Iceland, and Germany, comprising the finest elements of Bolt Thrower, early Amon Amarth, and Edge of Sanity, with a very fine sense of original songwriting. No technical wankery, no hackneyed lyrics, no deadpan production.
No hackneyed lyrics, huh?
Well, then it's not Bolt Thrower worship if there's no hackneyed lyrics. But yes, there's that, and then I also found this other band called CHAOSBRINGER. CHAOSBRINGER are from Russia, and they have an album called Turn into Ruins, which also just so happens to have a logo that looks a little Bolt Throwery, and some cover art that looks a little Bolt Throwery.
Oh yeah, that looks pretty Bolt Throwery to me. Yeah.
Pause. I'm upset at your arms right now. I don't like how good your arms look versus mine. I'm very upset here. I don't like this at all.
Brother, I'm on the way down. I am like doing minimal cardio right now. I am not lifting it now. I'm falling apart.
You're still upsetting me because mine are just complete flabs since I came out of the hospital. It's just flabbiness.
It's the light.
It's not the light.
It's just the light.
Don't you patronize me, goddammit. Your arms look fantastic compared to mine, and I'm upset about it. And I don't like it. So I am ending the show. Show's over? No, I mean like for good. Like we're not this episode, the entire show I'm wiping and I'm deleting them all
because of my arms.
Yes, I don't like it. I don't like that
I think that's
you're outgunning me.
Unjust dismissal. That's got to be discrimination.
I got nothing. My shit's
so I'll see you in court, motherfucker.
We're gonna sue each other over our guns.
I'm gonna sue you over. Yeah, you sue me over my guns, and I'm gonna sue you over ending the show over my guns.
I got the flappies. See, this is no good.
I got the flappies too, dog. Like it is not.
Yeah, but your flappies
this should be the promo right here. Listen, let's do this. Do it. Wait, get stone faced and then just.
The Flappy Boys coming at you. The Eldorado Boys. We can call ourselves the Eldorado Boys, you know, because
the L-Dog Hogs.
We're
one other thing. All right, so let's wrap the show up real quick, and then I got a really cool thing to tell you. Excellent show.
Thank you.
Bye.
Back at you.
No, listen. Bolt Thrower, obviously a massive influence on present day death metal, on death metal history. I don't want on me, on you. What I don't want is what I'm going to call the memification of Bolt Thrower to put people who are new to the game off of Bolt Thrower. It's not hype. Like, it's not empty bullshit. This is a groundbreaking cornerstone band. Like Patrick said earlier, has fucking, like Carcass and like Napalm Death, like started 3 different genres. You know what I mean? You go hit the fucking push-ups, brother. And next time I see you, me and you are both going to be even more jacked up. We're going to be adventurers, heroes, brothers. We're the fucking barbarian twins. That's how it's going to be. I shift my unit towards you.
Heavy unit.
I love you.
We'll see you bastards later, because Schiller's about to tell me some very, very ugly things about you. See, this is where he starts talking shit about you. Thanks for watching, everybody.
So the first thing about them is that they're ugly, right?
How can you see them through the camera?